Fallout 4 mods have been absolutely on fire lately. Modders have been adding in new DLC-sized experiences to the game, literal Fallout DLCs being recreated in Fallout 4, as well as a whole host of new combat overhauls. But with all that said, the best still may be ahead of us, and what I'm going to be looking at in this video are some of the upcoming mods for Fallout 4, with a particular focus on one mod that is probably now my most anticipated DLC-sized mod on its way to this game. This mod simply looks epic. But before that, how about a game you could play right now? And that is today's video sponsor with Conan Exiles. Conan Exiles is a true open-world RPG with a focus on survival, and the Age of Sorcery has just arrived. You're going to struggle to survive in a vast open world, getting an epic combat with all kinds of different creatures or humans, but now the Age of Sorcery update allows you to master the dark forces. But be warned, this will come at the cost of your body. The dark arts are powerful though, and will give you all kinds of new abilities like summoning undead followers or vanishing at will. But that isn't all, as this update also brought an overall attribute and perk system rework, giving you even further options for specialization, but also the builders haven't been forgotten here either. Building is easier than ever with the Age of Sorcery update, adding in better functionality for both keyboard and controller users, and even a creative mode so you can build with truly no limits. And now is the perfect time to get in, as Ages are the future of Conan Exiles. Future updates will be totally free and supported by a battle pass to deliver more evenly paced content. So don't wait and get Conan Exiles right now via that link in the video description. But looking back at Fallout 4, first up is A Better World, which is honestly, as I mentioned before, shot up for my most anticipated upcoming mod for this game. A Better World is going to be a new story-driven experience for Fallout 4 that is based around two former Institute researchers. Joe and Liz escaped the Institute and ran off to Abbott County in hopes of creating a better world. But since then, as we pick up with the mod, those two have gone missing, and we are going to be tasked with tracking them down. The gameplay demo for this mod is probably one of the most well-produced gameplay demos, or really just trailers in general, I have ever seen for an upcoming mod, and the setting for this mod in general is actually going to be pretty unique and interesting. It'll take place in both Abbott County, a more mountainous, almost small-town America-feeling area, but then in addition, Vault-Tec Plaza, which is going to be a pre-war mall built by none other than Vault-Tec that is now largely ruined and has an almost spooky feel to it. From what we've seen of these two landscapes, and of course you're going to see more in this video, they look phenomenal. Abbott County in particular has some really diverse and compelling landscapes, from cabins to full-on farmlands. The recent gameplay demo shows one of the story quests that we'll be doing with this mod. And at this point in the story, there's been some odd occurrences happening in Abbott County. Many previously inhabited locations have now gone empty and quiet, and there's all kinds of speculation by the local townfolk as to what is causing this. We get some gameplay at one of the now abandoned but otherwise fairly major settlements with Miller's Hill, where we begin to see that something bad has clearly happened here, and you actually get to see some of the unique gameplay elements that will be introduced with this mod. You'll have the ability to bypass certain segments of quests via skill checks, actually these coming in handy with physical locations and bypassing things physically, as well as this will be one of those mod experiences that tries to use quest markers a bit more sparingly, emphasizing that focus on exploration and experience. There's going to be a unique faction here with the 14th. We'll encounter them inside this pretty awesome looking crypt, and the 14th overall is going to be a tech-heavy faction that has a very unique design, honestly one of the most unique faction designs as far as characters go I've seen of any Fallout 4 mod, and as you get a bit deeper into the gameplay, you can clearly tell they have some unique abilities to them. The gameplay segment will take us through this crypt overall, and you'll really find this cool dichotomy of very futuristic enemies with very old school architecture. And although they don't explicitly explain each of these mechanics, you can definitely see a fair amount of custom content being implemented in the background for this mod. Seems like that's going to make the typical exploration and questing a lot more interesting and feel fresh. We're going to have literal barriers to overcome. There's this unique enemy scanning visual that pops up, and perhaps most notably, the 14th using a deployable turret from time to time. And that deployable turret in particular is one of those features that you kind of look at and you're like, oh yeah, why hasn't anyone else done this? That actually does seem like a pretty cool gameplay mechanic. But it's not only the 14th that are going to have that high-tech gear, because of course this is Fallout and you can take them out and loot them. And also during the trailer and the gameplay, we get a look at a variety of high-tech renditions on familiar Fallout weapons. I'm actually a big fan of this. I like when modders take something that is familiar and try and give their own take or own iteration on it that has a bit more creativity or uniqueness. And during this, we also get a preview of some of the voice acting coming with this mod, and this too sounds truly exceptional.
Easy, easy. I'm unarmed and a little curious how you got in here. Can we talk? Name's Dolos. I'm a member of the 14th, and up until you rolled in here, a bit of a prisoner. So you've got my thanks for that.
The mod overall seems like it's really going to be a more directed story experience, which is exactly what I think we need more of in Fallout 4 modding right now. The setting is pretty interesting. That nice contrast of mountainous small town America to the super high-tech faction that inhabits it. And if you're wanting to see more of the project, they have several other updates on their Discord and are even recruiting for a couple of positions, like a level artist, prop artist, and character artist. Either way, I'll have links down to everything down below, and for me, this is easily one of the coolest upcoming mods on its way to Fallout 4, and I'm definitely excited to see and find out more. Although fortunately, that isn't all. A variety of other DLC-sized upcoming mods just recently got some updates. Wars and Peace are two sister mods looking to overhaul different aspects of Fallout 4. Wars is going to be the weapon addition and replacement suite, and it's actually really just going to do what the title suggests here. It'll take some of the forgettable and boring weapons in Fallout 4 and try and replace them with more interesting alternatives, as well as just add a variety of new ballistic firearms into the game, while still leaving many of the energy or more Fallout-themed weapons untouched and still there in the background. Although as of late, this mod has definitely expanded past just adding in new weapons to adding in new mechanics, and that's what we've been seeing a lot of with the more recent updates. They're adding in a physical magazine system, so now when reloading, you will drop your magazine and whatever ammo is left in it. And although many games do have a feature like this where you'll lose ammo if you don't actually use the ammo, Wars will also include the ability for you to actually loot that ammo and magazine after the fact, so it's not just gone forever, just now on the ground. They'll also be implementing a more advanced ammo system here. There's going to be a variety of ammo subtypes you can choose from, each having their own different effects, as well as, of course, ammo switching in the field to go along with that, so you'll have a much better degree of control of choosing which kind of shot you will fire. A much expanded version of what we had in New Vegas. And that functionality will even extend to some of the underbarrel launchers that are coming with this project, so you can have a lot more versatility with those launchers as opposed to just a typical explosive round. And there are even some plans for these same things with ammo switching to apply to other NPCs also, so they can switch ammo on the fly when attacking you, which is really cool. I love mods like this where they add in a cool gameplay mechanic for you, but then also extend it to the world, so even if you don't necessarily want to deal with switching your ammo all the time, it will bring an interesting dynamic and change up to combat and gameplay overall. And even beyond all of that, there's been a few other features recently shared by this project, as well as a long history of other updates. But on the flip side, we do have Peace, which is going to be Project Extend and Change Everything. It basically aims to overhaul a bunch of systems in Fallout 4 outside of combat directly, because that's what Wars is dealing with. So you're going to have things like energy-fueled hot plates that don't require wood to cook, so you can cook in Fallout 4, rely on the survival mechanics without having to burn wood all the time. And this will be extended to being able to build things like stoves and fridges at settlements that rely on electricity. The fridges being for food spoilage will be an extended feature with this, so you'll even have food spoiling in stored containers, unless it's a fridge where it won't spoil as quickly. But to counteract that, there's going to be a bit more depth to the butchery system, and you'll end up with a lot more meat and raw food overall, as well as there will be entire on-the-go camping mechanics, so you can set up camp as you're exploring around. Peace is truly one of those all-encompassing mods. Obviously here I'm talking a bunch about survival features, but there's a ton of other features added that really have not much to do with survival, like giving caps a weight and actually adding ATMs and ways to store your caps in the game, and even overhauls to carry weight and storage options for some of the robots in the world. At this point, both Wars and Peace are completely massive mods, and they actually have very extensive write-ups on easy to follow mod pages that I will have linked down below. But a couple of smaller mods I also wanted to highlight that I thought were pretty cool are things like Wasteland Legionary. This looks epic, and there really aren't many details outside of these pictures, but it basically seems like somebody is adding in a new armor mod that will potentially make use of a spears framework, where the armors and weapons are some of the signs you would find around the Commonwealth, which just seems awesome. And like, I feel like this is just one of those quintessential Fallout experiences, having somebody who kind of goes crazy in the apocalypse and just decides, hey, I'm going to rebuild the Roman Legionary, but now we're going to use street signs as our armor and weapons. That honestly just sounds like a Fallout story. Now, I'd love to see this become even perhaps a more full-fledged faction in the future. It's a really epic concept, and thus far, it looks like a really cool mod. But if you want something a bit more serious, conversely, we also do have the Combat Armor Overhaul. This is another one I think a lot of people are going to be fans of. It basically combines Fallout 4's familiar combat armor with some more real-world plate carriers and really more modern operator looks that you can often find in many other video games. You have things like camo added to this, as well as a ton of pouches and helmet attachments. As I mentioned a bit earlier in this video, as of late I've been a pretty big fan of mods that add riffs to familiar Fallout concepts but with their own ideas and inspiration. I feel like this is yet another one of them. And with enough customization options, I could definitely see this being a huge hit in the modding scene overall. With all that said though, that is a look at a couple of DLC sized mods on their way to Fallout 4 and a couple of smaller ones that we perhaps will get even a bit sooner. To me, A Better World looks phenomenal and that gameplay reveal is incredibly well done. If you want to check it out, I'll have a link to it down below. But otherwise, as always, again, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.